Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of Morgan's Pop Talks, breaking down the latest in reality TV and pop culture. How's my girls? How's the vibes? Vibes are high. I'm speaking it into existence because, oh my gosh, wait. I didn't turn my text messages off on my computer, and my husband, Dave, the best guy I've ever known, just texted me asking if I wanted a nice coffee. Okay, hold on. So I obviously have to text him back. Yes, please. Latte, oat milk. Yes. That is when you know you married the right person. Okay, and now I promise I'm going to put my phone away. Anywho, I need some advice. This is the top of the show rant, obviously. I need some advice for some of my allergy girlies out there because I am dying. I'm dying. I actually don't even know if it's allergies. Historically, looking back on my life, I've never had allergies, but I'm showing all the signs of having allergies. I'm always a little stopped up in the back. I have like chronic postnasal drip, and I've tried everything. I started sleeping with the humidifier. That did help a little bit, but today I am on the struggle bus, and I'm like, is it my petunias? I have no idea. I'll be heartbroken if I have to give up my petunias because I can't breathe. I've tried Zyrtec. I've tried the nasal spray, Afrin. I've tried the normal nasal spray that's just saline and water. I've tried Mucinex. I have tried everything. And I'm losing it. I'm losing it over the fact that when I am editing my Patreons, I'm sitting there talking about Justin Timberlake getting this little plea deal, and I have to stop every 5 seconds to clear my throat and then edit it. It's a nightmare. You guys, it's a nightmare. So my allergy girlies, we need to start a support group. First of all, can someone diagnose me? Do I have allergies? Or is it something else? Just don't tell me there's mold in my house, because if you tell me that there's mold in my house, you're not going to see me for a couple days. Speaking of strange things being in my house, the situation with the groundhog has escalated a little bit. If you follow along on the Instagram, there is this groundhog that lives underneath my shed, and he was eating the petunias, and I'm like, whatever, he's just living his best life. There's really no problem. The problem was on Sunday morning, I got up at the crack of dawn, 6:30 on Sunday morning, and I'm making my cup of coffee, enjoying the birds chirping. There's dew on the grass, and all of a sudden, I see a very large possum with a baby on its back and a baby by its tail also go into the hole underneath the shed. So I don't know if the groundhog and the possum are neighbors. I don't know if there are Game of Thrones things down there and they're battling out for the throne. Like, I don't know. I don't know who lives under my shed right now, but I also don't really know what to do about it. On one hand, I think they're both kind of cute. On the other hand, I think they're both kind of weird and creepy. So I don't know. I don't know. So that's where I am in life right now. Isn't it fun? Yeah, just another day in the life inside Morgie's brain. Let's get into it. Pop 3, biggest headlines in reality, TV, and pop culture. We have to start with Devin Strader's 13-minute receipt drop. The man lost his marbles, you guys, in this moment. Truly, the man just, all logic, rationale went out the window. He shared his truth. He went ballistic. I mean, whatever, however you want to define it. And he shared a 13-minute video explaining his side of the story of his breakup with former Bachelorette Jen Tran. And it included about 874 screenshots of their text messages throughout their entire relationship, I guess to prove that Jen's claims were not true, that he didn't check out of the relationship after filming, that he tried to break up with her in person, but the conversation escalated during the text exchange and Jen kind of forced his hand, right? Well, he says at the beginning of this video, by no means am I looking to come at her in any way or say anything negative about her. All I'm trying to do here is show this was a two-way relationship, and I think we could both be held accountable. Okay, fine. You want to tell your truth? I feel like there's a lot of public pressure coming from Bachelor Nation. It's like when there's villain, they run out with the pitchforks, I've called him the insane clown posse, all of those things. Yes, I can understand how Devin might be feeling a little stirred up, wanting to get his side of the truth out there. Very clearly reading from a script, he kept looking over to the side, which also, like, people are dogging him for that, but also you have to understand too, the people are going to dog you no matter what. And wouldn't you rather be sure of what you had to say than, spitball it and then get later, put it out there and be like, oh, you didn't say this or whatever. The dude was clearly stressing. He was losing it a little bit. But then he also says, everything that we've spoken about post breakup has led me to believe that we were on good terms. He shares a message from Jen saying, like, no matter what, I hope everything's okay. How things go down tonight on After the Final Rose. I believe it was that day. He also said he felt like Jen liked Marcus more, and he says he shouldn't have followed Maria. There's tons of stuff, right? People were very upset with Devin and his 13-minute video and his 874 screenshots because there were some private and personal messages buried in there. I was like, how did y'all see that? My thumbs have never worked faster in trying to pause a video. Literally every half a second, it would be onto a different screenshot. And I'm like, I missed probably 3/4 of the conversation because I just couldn't keep up. I'm 31. My limbs don't work as fast as they used to. But anyways, my question is, where was all of this after the final rose? Devin did not say a peep after the final rose. We got no context whatsoever. He barely said 2 words. And now all of a sudden we're getting this receipt dump where I feel like it would have been much better received during that moment. Maybe the pressure got to him. Maybe the lights, camera, action, the live audience, being on live national television, the pressure got to him and he couldn't articulate what he was feeling. But I feel like even if you take half of this stuff and you're like, look, in my opinion, I tried to make the relationship work. Say something after the final rose, because this doesn't do you any favors either. Devin thinks that these text messages exonerate him. For a lot of people, it doesn't. He's saying, see, I was trying, but unfortunately, it doesn't help the narrative because Jen is saying that she doesn't feel like a priority. And just because you're texting back doesn't mean that you're making somebody a priority. You're going through a formality of saying, okay, I texted her back, but he's always like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to fight. And I think based on the text messages that I was able to pause and read, I think that Jen was feeling really insecure in the relationship. And you have to ask yourself, why? You have to ask yourself, what series of events was making her feel that way? And honestly, the answer might not be 100% Devin. It could be situations in her past make her feel this way. It could be pressure from the internet making her feel this way. There are a number of different reasons, but I think you could tell that Devin was annoyed with her in those text messages and wasn't necessarily creating a space for her to be able to share how she feels and have them work it out and still be in a relationship. He posted an apology and then he deleted it. He posted the original video and then he deleted it. And then he put up a new video. And, he said in the apology, I deeply am so sorry for showing sensitive information. It was not my intention. It was the typical black background, white text. I don't need to read it for you guys. But honestly, yeah, I just feel like he had an opportunity to say it after the final rose and he didn't, which makes me just, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, honestly. It was insane. Like, let's just be honest. It was really insane. And we're going to leave it at that. Let's move on to headline number 2, the season of Selling Sunset. I'm not all the way done with it yet. I think I have 2 more episodes, but there's this big conflict between Bre and Chelsea. And Bre kind of admitted to it being a little bit set up. And I think the crux of this drama is, how was it set up? And this is kind of a breaking the fourth wall moment for Selling Sunset, because they refer a lot on this season to the show being like this dark creature in the shadows, okay, because at the at the first glance of it on this season, there's big drama between Bre and Chelsea. Historically, last season, Chelsea didn't really like Bre and was very vocal about some judgments that she had in regards to Bre being with Nick Cannon and having a baby with Nick Cannon and not having a traditional family, right? So they were always fighting about that. Now the tables have turned and Chelsea is the one in the hot seat because she is going through a divorce with her husband. On the show, Bre gets this call from a girl named Amanda. Am I like losing it? Who is this person? And why is she showing up with her beautiful Hollywood waves? I'm like, who is she and what is she doing here? Ariana, what are you doing here? That was the vibe that I was getting. But anyways, Bre gets this call from Amanda and she's like, I have tea. I need to talk to you in person. So they sit down and then Amanda tells Bre, hey, my friend saw Chelsea's husband in the lobby of a hotel making out with some girl. Then Bre's like, oh gosh, now I have to tell Chelsea this information. Well, Bre did an interview with Entertainment Tonight that came out this week that reveals she actually had this conversation with Chelsea in December. The scene of them at the bar, spilling the wine glasses, talking it out, was filmed in March. So they have two different conversations, one not on camera, one on camera, right? So now this opens up a whole other can of worms. But the question the cast is asking, but is not saying, is who is the one person that wanted to bring this to camera? Is it Bre or is it Amanda? And on the show, they're saying the same thing, but they're not mentioning the fact that they've had this conversation before. They're saying, oh, Bre called Amanda to say, call me when I'm doing the showing and we'll get it on camera and then we'll have to have a sit-down meeting because producers will want to follow up on it, whatever. Bre is saying, I had no idea what Amanda was going to say that day. So here is Chelsea's side of the story, and this is what she tweeted. She said, outside of filming, Amanda contacted Bre about tea. While filming, Bre orchestrated a fake call during her showing, which led to a sit-down scene with Amanda. In other words, she set up this scene with production already knowing said tea to bring it to TV. I hear what is swirling while filming, and I asked production to set up a scene with Bre. I did this so she could tell me directly so that it's not passed around to a trillion people before me. So this is really interesting too, because Chelsea catches wind of the conversation, and she is the one who wants to set up that one-on-one sit-down with Bre at the bar where they spill the wine glasses, and Bre says, I really don't want to be the one to tell you this. So here are the two arguments that I can see for either Bre orchestrating this or this girl, Amanda. One, let's say Bre did this. Let's say Bre called up Amanda and said, hey, I'm filming today. I'm showing this open house. You're going to call me at 3:45 and you're going to say, I have tea and I need to talk to you about it in person. You're going to encourage production to meet us there. We'll film it. And this is what is going to be said. The reason why Bre might do that is because they never got along, right? Chelsea was very judgmental over Bre in the past, could be a little bit of a vendetta, could also be just in the back of her mind of something juicy that would get people talking about the season. On the other hand, Amanda could want to be on Selling Sunset, right? And knows that Bre is doing this open house or whatever it was at 3:45. So I'm going to call Bre at 3:45 and I'm going to say, girl, I have this tea. We have to talk. It's about one of your cast members or whatever. If production hears that on a phone call, they are going to want to sit down with Amanda and Bre. And Amanda even says this in her interview with Bryce Sanders. She says, I can't all of a sudden say to production, I don't want to go film with Amanda because they're going to know that I'm hiding something. So what am I supposed to do? It all comes down to the call. Let me tell you a story about the call that changed my destiny. Remember that one? Ugh. That music video when I was in 7th grade, like the green laser lights, I never wanted to go to a club more than when I was in 7th grade and I watched the Call music video by the Backstreet Boys. If you know, you know. But anyways, the call. Did Bre plan the call? Or did Amanda know that Bre was filming and then made the call? I don't know. I don't know. I find it kind of silly that they're mad about it, to be completely honest, because if Chelsea thinks that she is going to be on a show like Selling Sunset and is going to go through a divorce and thinks that nobody is going to talk about it on the show, girl, you got another thing coming to you. Have you seen the show? Have you heard of Selling Sunset? Do you know the producer, Adam DeVillo? Do you know the creator, Adam DeVillo? They don't care. They do not care. They're going to air that dirty laundry out for the world to see while you're trying to sell a $15 million home in the Hollywood Hills. So I don't really understand it. Last but certainly not least, we have an update on when Vanderpump Rules will return and a new spin-off. So according to TMZ, production crews have been filming a new possible show at SUR for the last couple of weeks. I've seen photos of camera crews in the back of the SUR alley, and it just feels right. Like, I've never done drugs before, but I can imagine that that is what that feeling would feel like, you know, just like, oh, burst of adrenaline, burst of like warmth just running through your body. That's how that feels whenever I see a camera in the back of the SUR alley. But the cast is made up entirely of new faces, right? All of whom are SUR employees. So none of the current Vanderpump Rules cast are set to appear in the new project. And it's important to note that it hasn't been picked up yet. So they're filming, I'm assuming, a pilot. They're going to show it to a bunch of different networks, whether that be, I can't see it being another network besides Bravo and NBC. However, Vanderpump Villa obviously is a Hulu show. But, you know, they show this pilot and then they decide if they want to pick it up or not. So if it's greenlit, it will be considered a spin-off, not a reboot, because per TMZ, Vanderpump Rules is still planning to return for season 12 and production will begin in the fall. Also, producers might just simply be testing out current SUR employees to bring into this new season of Vanderpump Rules. I don't think that's the case because that doesn't work, and we have seen that it doesn't work. I think the only person that it kind of worked with in the past was Dana, one season wonder, but you know, they brought in Danica and Max and all these other people, and it just never really worked. It just felt contrived. It didn't feel natural. So I feel like that's not going to be the way that it goes. I mean, we can talk about it until we are blue in the freaking face. Something with Vanderpump Rules has got to give. I just don't see how, with all the lawsuits that are flying around everywhere, literally like a t-shirt cannon at the basketball game, you get a lawsuit, you get a lawsuit, you know? That's what it feels like right now in Vanderpump Rules. I don't see how they can continue with the same cast. And as y'all know, I have speculated that Ariana would leave. I feel like the only reason why she wouldn't leave is a pride thing. You know, you guys aren't going to force me out. This is also my show. I feel like that would keep me in. Like, I would want to duke it out, fight to the death. But I don't know. People have been talking about this type of Vanderpump Rules spinoff for a long time when it comes to like what Vanderpump Rules should do moving forward. And I think it's a discussion that we have all the time. Do these shows revolve around the cast, or does it revolve around the premise? Does Summer House revolve around a group of 20-something singles getting together in the Hamptons on the weekend in a share house, or does it revolve around the original cast, Kyle, Amanda, Lindsay, Paige? Does Vanderpump Rules center around drama working in a restaurant at SUR, or does it center around Tom Sandoval, Sheena, Lala, you name it? I personally think that it revolves around the cast. They have 10 plus years of history. People are invested. And so that's why I think that it will be two shows. I don't think they're going to bring anybody on, but we'll have to see. Okay, for today's deep dive, of course, we're going to talk about not the real housewives, the secret lives of Mormon wives. But I also want to get into the origin of MomTalk, because it's not exactly portrayed on the show as it actually originated. So I'm going to start there, and then we're going to go ahead and get into some conversations about the season. You guys, I'm hoping to have one of the MomTalk girlies on the pod next week, so keep your fingers crossed. But everybody's talking about Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Everybody's talking about MomTalk, and I loved it. But like I said, this actually isn't the original MomTalk group. The only one that this started with that's on the cast currently is Taylor. And Taylor, of course, was involved in the soft swinging scandal that got them a TV show. So the current cast is Taylor, Macy, Jesse, Layla, Jen, Demi, Whitney, and Michaela. They say the original 4 is Taylor, Macy, Michaela, and Whitney. But the real original MomTok group was Taylor and 2 other women by the names of Miranda and Camille. And they were allegedly involved in the soft swinging scandal. So here is what happened with that, allegedly. Taylor Frankie Paul created MomTok. She was then married to her husband, Tate, and she started doing videos with Camille and Miranda, who were also both married to other people. They did that for a while, started gaining popularity, and then Taylor announced that she was getting a divorce from her husband, Tate, that it was messy. Fans noticed that there were some unfollows going around, and then the word on the street, Reddit, was that Taylor stole someone's husband. And that's when this TikTok live happened. Everybody references the TikTok live a lot in the season of Secret Lives. They're like, why did you do that video? They show flashbacks of it. Well, here is why. That's when Taylor says that her and Tate were in an open relationship. They were soft swinging, and there were 2 other couples in the group, but they never name names. So basically, because all these rumors were going around of Taylor stealing someone's husband, she felt like she had to get on and defend her character and say, no, I wasn't stealing anybody's husband. This was an arrangement that went south that we were all in. So there is a 3rd couple in this mix that ends up being the nail in the coffin for this specific MomTok group, and that is Braden and McKenna. Okay, so let's just reassess. You have Miranda, Camille, Taylor, and McKenna, and then you have the husbands. So Miranda is Taylor's closest and best friend, who was married to a man named Chase. One day, Chase sees Taylor Frankie Paul. I don't know why I feel like I always have to say her full name, Taylor Frankie Paul. Chase sees Taylor at the gym, goes up to her and says, hey, since we all started doing what we're doing, I have caught feelings for you. Taylor then goes home and tells her husband, Tate, what happens. She also tells McKenna, Braden's wife. McKenna then tells Miranda, hey, Taylor Frankie Paul told me that your husband likes her. Miranda calls Taylor up. Is this true? Taylor denies, right? They have a little family meeting later in that day because of it, where they all meet at one person's house to get everything straightened out. They were drinking. Taylor says she was extremely intoxicated. She got overwhelmed at this come to Jesus meeting, and she leaves the party to go to a friend's house. The 3 boys that are there, her husband, Tate, the guy that is crushing on her, Chase, and then Braden, McKenna's husband, are all calling Taylor. Taylor, where are you? Can we come pick you up? Taylor, where are you? Can we come pick you up? Braden is the one who ends up picking Taylor up. His wife, McKenna, is actually the one who told him to go do it. She said, go pick Taylor up, bring her back so us 3 can spend the night together. That didn't end up happening. What happened was Braden and Taylor stayed at the friend's house that Taylor was at, and that is the night that they broke the rules of the soft swinging community, right? They went all the way together without the other person's spouse being there. Wakes up the next morning. Her husband, Tate, picks her up. He asks, did anything happen last night? She lies. She says no, but eventually comes clean. And that is the end of her relationship with her first husband, Tate. They get a divorce. At first, Miranda was sticking by Taylor's side until Tate, who's a little bitter, right, at the moment at Taylor, calls her and says, hey, by the way, Taylor lied to you. Chase really did come up to her at the gym and say that. And at that point, that's when Miranda wiped her hands clean of Taylor. That's when Taylor says she lost everything. That's when everything blew up. So Camille and Miranda were actually approached to do the show. They turned it down. Why? They said they didn't want to be on a show with Taylor. They said, if Taylor is going to do the show, we are not going to participate. Well, Taylor is the main character, right? She was the main character of the scandal. People were interested because of Taylor. So they're not going to go with Camille and Miranda, 2 people who deny ever being involved in any of that, which they do. Miranda specifically denies ever being involved in any of that. Or are you going to have somebody who puts it all out there? There are no questions. You know, what makes for better TV? Obviously, Taylor does. So that's how we got here. Taylor is the hook, and then we have built out some other characters around her, villains, whatever you want to call her. So let's look into this first season now and talk about some of the big storylines. Whitney. At the beginning of the season, Taylor and Whitney are fighting to the death over MomTok. Taylor is the face of it, but Whitney doesn't necessarily feel like Taylor and her actions should be the face of MomTok. Going through a divorce, getting pregnant with Dakota very quickly, unfortunately suffering a miscarriage, then getting pregnant again, then getting arrested. So Whitney's sitting here thinking like, Taylor is taking money off my table because people don't want to be associated with somebody who was arrested for domestic violence. And at first I understood that from Whitney, right? And I feel like I would be frustrated if I were Whitney and that was my friend who was the face of this group that we all make money from and is now maybe tainting the reputation of it. However, I think as the season progressed, you can see that Taylor, in my opinion, Taylor is really struggling in life. And I have compassion for her because of that. I feel like there's a lot of deep-rooted issues. Obviously, her past relationship with Tate and her other friends affect her mental space now, and even the decisions that she's made. I feel like she has a hard time trusting other people because of the decisions that she has made. So I feel like that's the range of emotions you go through being a human. You can be mad at somebody for making these decisions, and then a couple weeks go by and you realize, maybe this person was making these decisions because they feel out of control and, they're just not doing well. So that's kind of how my journey went with Taylor. But you start to see Whitney's true colors as the season progresses. I thought it was very interesting that she was so quick to bring up her husband's infidelity about being on Tinder. Whitney moves away to Hawaii. She blames MomTok, but then she comes back and she says, well, it's actually because I lied to you guys and Connor was on Tinder. Some people think it's another website, but Whitney is saying that Connor was on Tinder. I was like, okay. She was very quick to say that on camera. And I was wondering, I'm like, okay, they had to have agreed that they were going to talk about that on the show. Like Connor was sitting there. So it's not like he was like, no, never say that. But I was like, okay, I'll let it fly because it's reality TV and this is what they had to do, right? Well, then the very next thing that they bring up, and I guess you could say that paints Whitney in a negative light, is the TikTok dance that she did when her baby was in the hospital. And I was like, okay, now it makes a little bit more sense. The decisions that she sometimes makes, I think, is for attention, I guess. Some other things that happen, because Whitney really is, she's taken a beating. She is the villain of this season, but she doesn't do herself any favors. The cereal joke. How do I even describe the cereal joke? The girlies get together and they're having a little girly conversation, as we do. You get in a group of 8 of your girlfriends, you're going to talk about things that go on with you and your husband, right? And I guess it gets brought up that Demi had a little encounter with her husband and something was brought up along Fruity Pebbles. I don't know what's going on with the Fruity Pebbles. Honestly, none of my business to know what is going on with the Fruity Pebbles, but it's a big inside joke between all of them. Whitney shows up to this Galentine's party and gives Demi a box of Fruity Pebbles as a joke, right? And Demi is upset about it. I'm like even trying to give Whitney the benefit of the doubt until this moment. Okay, she gives her the Fruity Pebbles. She thinks it's going to be funny. It's not. Okay, apologize. No, Whitney gets mad that Demi is mad. And that's when I know. That's when I know that Whitney is the type of person that will not take accountability for very many things in her life. Will always think that the other person is the problem. Won't really understand empathy, how to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. If that were me and Demi was upset about a gift that I gave her, I'd be like, I'm so sorry. I thought this would be funny. It's clearly not. I apologize. But no, she is like, why are you mad? And it's just like the worst type of reaction that you can have, because I think it goes to show that that type of person will never be concerned with you and your feelings. They will only ever be concerned with themselves and how they feel. And it's like a deflection. They have a fight on the girls' trip. She then removes herself from the group chat, and then she's wondering, why isn't anybody checking up on me for removing myself from the group chat? I have listened to a bunch of interviews with the girls, and she says Whitney does this all the time. She removed herself from the group chat 5 times. We're not checking up on her. Boo freaking who. I just think in general, Whitney wanted main character energy. I don't necessarily think that she's ever going to get it. So let's move on to Jen and Zach. Jen and Zach, where do I even begin? Jen, cute as a button. Jen Affleck, 24, 2 kids, married to this guy, Zach. And Jen is the self-proclaimed most Mormon of the bunch. But they have this big hiccup when they go on this Las Vegas trip. Now, I did see in an interview, Jen said Zach didn't really want to go on the Las Vegas trip. I convinced him to come on the trip to Las Vegas. I don't know why she wanted him to be there, but those were her words. She wanted him to be there. So the girls go on a little girls' night out to Chippendales, and Jen automatically is freaking out. She's having a mentee B. She's having a panic attack. And not because she doesn't want to be there, but because she's afraid of how her husband is going to react. And let me just say this. As somebody who is a self-proclaimed prude and would also feel pretty uncomfortable at a Chippendales show, I think it's okay that she didn't want to be there. But I think what we need to get to the bottom of is, did she not want to be there, or did she not want the wrath of Zach? Because it's different. If she didn't want to be there and she doesn't necessarily like those types of things and she would feel uncomfortable, I almost feel like Jessie should have told them beforehand where they were going so she could make the decision for herself. However, I think Jen's decision isn't from what's in her heart internally. I think it's from pressure from her husband, which is the big difference, right? And it's rich that Zach is popping off on her about going to this Chippendales show, which is harmless. At the end of the day, it is harmless. Going to this Chippendales show when he's sitting at the casino gambling $2,500 of her money away. What is that about? And I honestly think, I don't want to say it has nothing to do with Chippendales, because I do think it has to do with Chippendales, but I think it's more so about the group of girls that he doesn't like. I think he doesn't like that all of these women aren't practicing Mormons, because 2 of them aren't actually Mormon. Jessie's not Mormon and Michaela is not Mormon. I don't think he likes her running around with these types of girls that pull her in, air quotes, to these types of situations, because it's not what him and his Mormon family would do. He's threatening divorce. That's crazy. That's crazy. And I wish for just a second Jen would threaten him with a divorce. Like, okay, if you want to be this controlling over me, a 24-year-old grown woman, the mother of your 2 children, the sole provider who's about to put your butt through medical school, okay, let's divorce Zachary and then see what happened. I was scared, honestly, because we end the season on a bit of a cliffhanger. Zach wants to go to medical school in New York. And I'm like, they do a scene in New York. And I'm like, I hope to God that this little baby angel Jen was not ripped away from her safe and sound community of MomTalk in Utah to go to New York with this man after everything he just put her through. I was freaking out. I was like on my Instagram saying, can someone please confirm or deny the fact that Jen is in New York? She's not in New York, but they did move to Arizona. I guess something happened last second where Zach picked a different school. He is still going to medical school and they are in Arizona. So at least it's a little bit closer, but I still don't like it, quite frankly. Still don't like it. Let's move on to Dakota, Taylor, and Macy. Dakota is another evil lurker lurking from behind. People don't know really what to make of Dakota. He is one of the villains, I guess you could say, of the season. He's in this relationship with Taylor. Dakota wants marriage. Taylor isn't ready for marriage. And like I said earlier, I think you can just tell that Taylor at that point of her life was a broken human being. And I just wanted to jump through the TV and wipe her tears away every single time that she was covering her mouth because she was crying so hard. I was like, someone hug her. Someone give her a tissue, something. But Taylor has a hard time trusting, like I said, because of her own decisions and because people around her's decisions. And in the meantime, there's this ominous threat of Dakota hooking up with this girl named Jenna at the beginning of his and Taylor's relationship. Macy, because Macy got like this, it's so Gossip Girl. Macy got this anonymous message from her Sunday confessionals that she does on Instagram saying, I accidentally hooked up with Dakota while he and Taylor were together. It's like, and everyone's hung up on this word accidentally. Like, no, you don't accidentally hook up with somebody, sis. But everybody thinks that it's Jenna, this girl in question. I think regardless, Dakota does seem pushy, right? And I think his rationale is, we're committed to each other. We have a child together. That a child is way more of a commitment than a marriage. Like if you're looking at it, if they didn't have any kids together, right? And you get married, you can get divorced and go your separate ways and not see that person for the rest of your life. If you have a child and you want a healthy co-parenting relationship for the sake of that child, you guys are bound together for life. So like the life commitment is already there. And I think that's what he gets really frustrated about. But you cannot force somebody into a marriage. That's a recipe for disaster. And I feel like he could be softer to Taylor. It is too soon. I mean, it was too soon for them to have a child. The child is a blessing. Like it is. We love little babies. But we can all agree it was too soon for her to jump into another relationship and get pregnant and have this man's child. It's also too soon for her to get married. That's not where the chips fell. The cards are out there. They're in this situation now. So what do you do? I'm with her 100%. You cannot get married right now just because you have this child. Otherwise, you could be in for another world of hurt. And, I've seen she's done interviews saying, I want to go into a marriage with a secure foundation of trust. And that takes time. And she's right. And especially coming off of the heels of what she's went through, that is going to take a longer time, unfortunately. And that's something that Dakota has to realize. Macy is one of my underdog favorites, actually. I know a lot of people love Demi. I love Demi too. I love Demi. I love Jesse. I love all of them. I love those little Mormon girls, even though they're not all Mormon. But Macy is advocating for her friend. And, I see people be like, who is going to be the president of MomTok? Is it Whitney? Is it Taylor? Is it Demi? I'm like, why not throw Macy into the ring? She seems like the most level-headed. She is the most loyal. I think she will stick by your side through thick or thin. She's still friends with Whitney, even though Whitney didn't show up to her baby mama launch party. That would be first strike against my friend personally. But Whitney, I feel like Macy is a peacekeeper. She wants to smooth things over. She wants everybody to be friends. And she has her friends back. The way that she's grilling Dakota in the car, first of all, so uncomfortable to be trapped in a 4-door vehicle, rolling down the street, going to Swig to get your 7:30 a.m. Coca-Cola of the day, to be trapped with the guy that you don't like, who's dating your best friend, who's like borderline yelling. And that's a thing, like his tone. He's got to work on his tone. It's not great. Flying off at the handle, very defensive. And she's like, look, I'm just looking out for my best friend. If you have nothing to hide, you shouldn't be worried about this, right? And it ends on that cliffhanger. She calls Jenna. And I saw in an interview, Taylor was like, I don't care really that Macy called Jenna, because if Dakota doesn't have anything to hide, then he has nothing to hide. Who cares if she calls Jenna? Now, if she calls Jenna and something comes out, that obviously has Dakota stressing in the corner of Taylor Frankie Paul's parents' house. I don't know if they still live with the parents, but anyways, in general, I really did enjoy this show. And I feel like it has filled a little gap in our hearts that we've had because the summer has been a little bit slow. It got me excited to watch something on TV again. I definitely think that there's going to be a season 2. And like I said, keep your fingers crossed that we're going to have one of the MomTok girlies on the pod next week. For final thoughts, truly, my sinuses will not let me go through an entire other segment, but I just want to remind you of all the things that we have to look forward to next week. Next week is a big week if you are a TV girly. All on the same night, September 18th, you have Joan taking her throne as the Golden Bachelorette. You have season 48 of Survivor, and you have the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. I'm ready for all 3. I don't know which one I'm going to sit down and watch first on Wednesday night. Probably Survivor, because David would want to watch it and we would want to watch it together. But having just come off of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives and MomTalk, I'm like still ready to be in Salt Lake City, Utah. So I am ready for the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Obviously, the big question in the air, how will the show progress without Monica Reality Von Teese? We will see. And then, of course, like I said, you have the Golden Bachelorette. You have Joan, our girl, Joni. So excited for her. She's the cutest, isn't she? I feel like, please, Bachelor franchise, just throw everything else away besides the Golden franchise and then do a Golden Paradise season. I'm so tired of these people who aren't ready for love. And you could say the same thing about Gary and Teresa because they ended up getting divorced 3 months later. But I don't know why. It just feels more wholesome. It feels more believable that these people don't want to just be influencers, that they actually want to find love. And I believe Joan is going to find love. So buckle up. Like I said, that happens next week, Wednesday on September 18th. You guys, thank you again for tuning in to another episode of MPT. Please leave a review, a little 5-star boop boop, a little love you like a sis, because you know I do. Have a great rest of your week and weekend. And as always, love you like a sis.